today the main agenda is logical functions. So logical functions are functions that let the software make a decision or some decisions based on the value or content of a cell. The first thing that we saw the last time was conditional formatting, which allowed us to create some kind of condition upon the value of the cell, and the software makes a decision based on that value of the cell. That if the value is, for example, greater than 10, then the highlight of the of that cell should be different as compared to if the value was less than 10. So these are logical functions, and in order to test those or work on those, I'm going to start a spreadsheet. I'm going to merge and center a couple of these cells, and I'm going to mention here rainfall in Lahore in millimeter, right? So it will be a data which will be about the rainfall in Lahore, and so the main objective will be that there will be some random data about rainfall in different areas of Lahore, the city called Lahore, and I'm going to type the names of those areas. Like there's one area called Gulberg, and then I'm going to type the area of another name called, let's suppose, Model Town, and then there is another one called, for example, BHA, and then there is the Kent area in Lahore. So there are four different areas in Lahore, and I'm going to use their data as as samples. And here on the left side, I'm going to type in the names of months. This is going to be a full year, all of this. So I'm going to type here January, then February. Let's try the autofill option. So if I use this tiny black dot, so if I click drag this, you can see that the month names are automatically incrementing, and I didn't have to type the names of all of the months, and all of the months are automatically filled. Okay, so now let me tell you something. I'm going now equal sign rand between 80 comma 150. So if the and obviously this includes pasting the results back to fix the values to the random values that we want. So then we copy this formula to the row like this, and then we copy the same formula to all the columns. So now we see that all the columns have random values, and now in order to fix these values, because if we change any other cell contents, they're going to change. So I'm going to select them, I copy them, and then I go to edit menu, paste special, and then paste unformatted text, and press OK, and I am left with only the values and not the formula. So I can edit any cell content, and it will simply be the values. This was the first thing that we do. And the second thing that I asked you to do was that you select all of these, and you can go to the format cell option by right clicking them. So now you actually need to mention some kind of units with the number. So if, for example, we wanted to kept all of the numbers in number format, like they should be numbers, but and what I mean by number is, for example, if I add an a at the end of this, you see that the alignment goes to left side, and in the top here as well, I can see an a along with the this number 88. But if I get rid of this a, it recognizes this 88 as a number, and on the top bar here you see that 88 is written. If I change the format to, let's suppose, currency like this, this with this button, you can see that dollar sign I can see over here, but in the top bar, the input line bar, I can see the number is still recognized as a number which is 88. Now I want to do something similar to this, so that a millimeter is written at the end of this number, but that millimeter is not made a part of the number as a text. Otherwise, it will not remain a number anymore. You will also see a millimeter over here in the input line. So let me try and do that. So I select all of these, and I go to format cells, and I go to user defined, and I type here the number sign, which is short for if there is a number inside the contents of the cell, we want to display the same number in the cell as a result of its display. And then I click, then I type a space, and then I type double quotes, the these two letters M and M, and then these double quotes. So now, this thing is recognized within the double quotes. So double quotes are just to tell the software that I'm trying to input a text. Whereas this number sign I'm using to tell the software that I'm talking about the number that the user is entering inside the cell, as long as it is a pure number and not a text. So I click OK, and I see that no matter which cell I click, in the input line, I can see this is just a number. There is no word written at the end of this in the input line. So it means that I have defined some kind of units with the existing number values, and it's just to for a proof of concept that if you want to append some user-defined text at the end of the numbers that you're entering, you can do that. So I'm going to increase the the column and row widths a bit just to and let's change the appearance a bit right now. So I'm going to change the size of the heading to 12, and I'm going to make the names of these months and areas. And actually, I'm going to add two more column headings. So I'm going to change those to bold as well, and I'm going to center align the title of the area names, and then I'm going to change the colors. Like I'm going to change the heading color to, for example, this color, and I'm going to change the these column headings to, for example, this color, and then I'm going to change the months names to, for example, this color. Yeah, so then I would like to see the average, or I can call it monthly average, and of course I can increase the column width to accommodate these words. And then I'm going to type here the formula that is known as average, and after average I'm going to mention the range of cells for which I'm trying to calculate the average. So I'm trying to calculate the average of cells B3, C3, D3, E3. So there are two ways to do that. Either I could write B3, then a colon sign, and then E3, and then I close the bracket, and then I press enter, and I see that the software has automatically calculated the average of all of these four numbers, or the contents or the numbers that are input inside these four cells, right? So this was the first way of doing that. The second way is, for example, I had started writing the formula average, and I had started the opening bracket, I had written the opening bracket. Then I simply use the mouse and the left mouse click key to click and drag the mouse like this, and it will automatically select as much range as I am trying to mention in the in this function for this formula. So you see that I will do it again. I start from this V3 and I'm going towards the right side, and you can see in this formula that it has automatically included all the cells starting from B3 up to E3 as mentioned as a range, which is mentioned using this colon. So colon is used to mention range of cells that starts from a cell name and ends at another cell name. So I close this and I see that I am getting the same average. So I can double click this tiny black dot to autofill all of the values underneath this cell, and I can double click this to auto adjust the column bits to right. So if you go to any of the following cells, you will find out that all the cells are referring to the ranges in front of those cells. So all, for example, this one is mentioning all the range in front of it, which is B10 to E10, which is done automatically. We didn't have to write every single formula. So okay, so having done all of these for 12 months, we can see that the monthly average for each of one is here. I'm going to do yet another thing which actually falls under this thing that I had said earlier, that we are going to look at logical functions in this class today, inshallah. So let's see if it says that, for example, I'm going to give a heading to this one, as intensity. I'm just trying to find out by just looking at the spreadsheet what was the intensity of the rain for one particular average for one particular month, right? So here I can see that some are less, some are more. So I am going to choose a number of 110. So I'm going to write down something, a formula which really is something, as I have been saying a lot earlier, that every formula, every function should be written in a very precise, specific way. You should not be omitting any particular comma or colon or opening bracket or closing bracket or equal sign for that matter. And the reason why I emphasize on these things so much is that this is called syntax in computer language. This is called syntax. So syntax is something which the computers never forgive you for writing incorrectly. So syntax must be correct. So let me tell you the syntax of this function, which is called if. Very simple word if, but if I start this, it says what is the test that you want to apply to this if function. So the if function is a very specific function which you use to mention a test on a cell value by this function, and if that test is passed, you can say, or it is true, then there should be something done which we will tell the software inside in this function. And if that test is failed or that test is false, the results are false, what should that software do if the result was false? So we need to do all of these things. So I'm going to tell you how we write tests. So I'm going to write a test which is name of this cell greater than 110. So this is a test that I have written, which is that if the value in cell F3 is greater than 10, please generate the results. So the software is going to take this test and the software is going to generate the results. So you very well understand that in particular, for this particular cell, the test is going to be what? True, right? Because the value in this cell is actually greater than 110. But for many of the others, for example, the next one, the result is going to be false. So I'm going to use a comma after this. If you're using OpenOffice, you will use a semicolon here like this. But if you're using Microsoft Excel or if you're using LibreOffice Calc, you will be using a comma. And then I type if the results were true, the software should automatically display the word, and the word is heavy. And if that result, which is that F3 is greater than 110, is not true, meaning false, then the software should display the text like whether it was a heavy rainfall for January in Lahore, or was it a light rainfall in Lahore in the month of January, because all of this row is dedicated to the month of January, all of this row, all of these things, right? So then I'm going to press enter, and I will see that the software has automatically written heavy over here, even though I had written something which was much more complicated as compared to just the word heavy, but I had mentioned heavy somewhere inside of it. Now I'm going to simply use this tiny black dot and I'm going to double click this, and I'm going to see that all of the cells are filled in automatically. For this one in particular, you can see that it has changed the formula to represent, instead of F3, now it is written F6, which is the name of the cell in front of it, because in this formula over here we had started writing in such a way that we were mentioning a cell which was right in front of the cell where we were writing the formula. So but for this particular cell, this test was, so let me explain the if command in by writing text over here. So the if command, you can say, or the if function, actually this is a function call. And by the way, if you're writing if you've started writing something with the equal sign, that will be called a formula. Inside a formula, you can write one function or actually multiple functions if you want to. You can write multiple functions, you can write cell names, you can write constant values, you can write function names like this, or you can write multiple of any of those things. You can mix and match all of these things and combine them together. So we will try to look at a combination of formulas later, but right now I'm going to explain to you the if function. So the if function, it has three parts. So just for readability, I'm going to put a lot of spaces. So this is the first part, then a comma, then there is a second part, then there is a comma, then there is the third part. So the first part is the test, right? The second part, so now the test is a test generates the results which are either you can say true or false. If the result is true, so I'm going to type here cell value if result was true. And similarly, this thing will represent, or it will contain, or you have to write the cell value which you want the software to use if the result was false. I hope you guys get it. That pretty simple, right? So you mention a test over here which is a logical test. You are trying to compare two values for being greater or equal or less, and there are certain other types of tests as well. You mention the test in the first part. It's a mostly logical comparison test, and then you So because it's a logical test, there are going to be two results. Logic generates either true or false results. You will mention over here anything that you want to be placed in the cell as a display, but actually not in the cell, as a display of the cell, if that test that you mentioned over here was true. And similarly, you will mention over here anything that you want to display as a output of the cell if the test that you mentioned over here was false. For example, I was typing the following formula in cell, for example, G5, right? So this cell value is going to become the value or cell display of G5. These are separate things which are separated from each other using these commas, and then separated from the function call using these opening and closing brackets. Now let's we're going to do a couple of other things, like we're going to use some statistics, which are some of the functions will be regular functions, some are going to be logical functions again. So I'm going to go at the bottom of this spreadsheet, and I'm going to construct uh, you know some kind of analytics about this table, which are not going to be directly have to do anything with the table in terms of display. So I'm going to apply a border on the sides of this to have it an appearance of a table. Then I'm going to go and I'm going to write the statistics over here, like maximum rainfall in any month, and I'm going to display the results in front of these this text. So I'm talking about maximum rainfall in a month, in any month, and I'm going to display the value over here. Or maybe I can I can take this and I can bring it a bit towards the left side, or maybe over here, and then I am going to write the results over here. Okay, so I'm going to type here the formula equal sign, and I'm going to type max opening bracket, and I'm going to select this complete range of all the average rainfalls, and I'm going to press enter. So it is going to show me the maximum value. So you can see over here that we have 118 over here, but there is 118.25 at this location, and but for this one there is 118.75. So these are really close, but this one is actually the bigger one. So now I can quickly see which one was actually the bigger value between these two. So I can see the value is 118.75. This is the first you can say sort of basic analytic that we used. And this next one I'm going to use is called sum of light months. So I have mentioned the complete range, which is from F3 to F14. So all the analytics I'm going to type in the following lines are going to be about the same range of cells, which represents the average rainfall in any area. And so this particular one is also about the same, and it's about you know the same range, which is between F3 and from F3 to F14. So then I'm going to yeah. So this one is really tricky, because what this one is saying, that sum of rainfall or average rainfall for light months. One thing I could do was that I could merge these cells to display the results. So I'm going to do that. I will simply use the merge and center cell, and it will take if all the other cells are empty and only one cell contains some text, so the software automatically picks up that text and fits it into the final merged cell. So I'm going to select all of these cells, and I'm going to use this merge and cell, so it is going to fit the text in these merged cells. So I'm trying to find out the sum of average rainfall for light months only. So what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying from the software to do this thing, that add these three values, these four values, and these two values, and these two values. It's going to be really strange for someone if I asked you from the very first time that you started working on spreadsheet, that why don't you try to find out sum of only these cells which are selected right now. You would say that it looks like a complicated task, because either I have to use some formula three times and visually see and check which values were actually the light rainfall values, and only those should be added together to make a final number, which is the sum of the light rainfall months. So the good news is that we have a function or a formula to do that, and you can type in equal sign, then the name of the function is Sumif, and in the Sumif first, instead of, so here you see in the help that you can see right underneath the cursor, it doesn't say test, it says range. It means that opposite to the if function, where we put in the test in the very first part of the function, we are putting in the range first. So I'm going to select the range again using mouse and click like this. So now we have the range over here. Now it says, now tell me the criteria. So the criteria word here is referring to the test that we saw earlier. And the test here is going to be similar but not the same as the if function. The only difference is that it wants you to enter the test in double quotes, number one. And then it doesn't take the left side of the test as, you know, as just we saw in the if function. It considers all the range as the left side of the test. That's why we omit that left side. So I'm going to type here equal sign, actually less than equal sign, and then I'm going to type here 110 and double quotes, and that's it. So this is the function I have used. What I was trying to do was I was trying to pick only the values from this range which were less than or equal to 110, because that was the criteria for light rainfall in my this table. I'm using the same criteria, and it is going to pick all the values which were less than or equal to 110, and it is going to add them together and show you the results. So how convenient is that? Only one function call and you got the result. And the next metric or analytic that I'm going to type in is, this is called sum of heavy months. So that is obviously going to be the same thing. So I'm just going to copy paste this and I'm going to change this to light, heavy months. And I'm going to type here, and actually I can make a copy of this formula by going into edit mode and then selecting the text. So if I copy paste from here, from the outside of the edit mode, you can say from the display mode, if I copy paste, it is going to, you know, shift the range. So you see the range because it is like auto filling. So it has shifted the range to 415 instead of 314. So I don't want to change the shift, so I go to into edit mode. Then I use the shift and arrow keys to select all the text, copy it using Control C, coming back to this one, and using Control V to paste the same contents. And now I'm going to change the condition from less than equal to what? No, we don't need to use equal sign because equal was included in light one, and the heavy ones, they are talking about the values which are 111 and above, right? So we don't need to talk about, we don't need to write equal sign because we're not talking about 110. So I'm going to press enter, and you see that the sum of heavy months is 469. Although these are really difficult to add, this one is these two are heavy, and similarly this one is heavy. If you add them using calculator, you will find out that the sum of all these four was 469. You don't even need to verify this because unless that you are not sure if you wrote the formula correctly, but otherwise you don't need to verify this thing. So now I'm going to use yet another analytic, which is, now I'm going to type here number of months with light rainfall. So this could also be something that I was interested in knowing, that how many months are there in reality which have value which was a light rainfall month, a number of months. So I'm going to type equal sign countif, then I'm going to mention the same range using mouse. I can do that again like this, and then I can use comma, and then I can type here the same condition just like in SUMIF. I will mention here less or equal to 110, which was the condition for light rainfall months. I'm going to press enter, and it says that out of 12 months, 8 months for Lahore were where average rainfall in different areas was light. So that is one, and you know, the list goes on. There are so many functions I could tell you, but I'm going to stop over here, and I'm going to make the analytics a separate table to look like a separate table. So I'm going to use colors and borders to change the appearance of these things as separate. You can say, so I'm going to use inside borders. Now I'm going to change the colors of this table. We can just change the color of all of these cells to some other color, like for example this color. And yeah, so and the second thing I'm going to do with this table is that I could actually change, increase the heading size by selecting all of the width of the table and then using this, clicking this merge in cell and then clicking it back. So the heading will now span the complete width of the table. So now I'm going to insert a chart, and that chart I'm going to make using the month names, and I'm going to make using the monthly average rainfall for those months in different areas in Lahore. And then I'm going to use this um, chart button. Simply click this chart button, and I showed you how you select the different parts of the spreadsheet using control key on the keyboard and the mouse click. You can see that in the previous video. I will so then I'm going to go to pie chart, and I'm going to, you can actually apply 3D look to the pie chart. So actually let's do that, and I'm going to finish. So every month has a different color, and it's very easy to see, like for example this dark blue one is really big as compared to others. So this one was January, and the light blue was December. So January, December both are like on the heavy side, and this purple one was a bit less. So this was September. So just obviously this is all random data. So you can place this you know chart here on the right side of the of the table like this, which completes our spreadsheet for today. So today we learned how to use logic based functions where you have to mention a test on different values of the cells. And I hope everyone understood everything.